For many years, Edd China was the calm and brilliant mechanic behind the workbench on Wheeler Dealers. He made fixing even the most difficult cars look easy. Then one day, he suddenly disappeared. In March 2017, Edd surprised fans by announcing that he was leaving the show after 13 years. His departure left viewers shocked and wondering what really happened next. After stepping away from the spotlight, Edd quietly went back to his garage and started working on something unexpected. Edd's decision to leave Wheeler Dealers wasn't because he no longer cared about cars. In fact, it was quite the opposite. He had deep concerns about the direction the show was heading. Originally, the show focused on restoring old cars with real attention to detail. Edd handled the mechanical side while his co-host, Mike Brewer, managed buying and selling. The format gave viewers a chance to learn how repairs were actually done. They could see every step of the process. This educational approach was what made the show unique. However, things began to change when Discovery Channel took over production and moved the show from the UK to the United States. The new producers wanted to make the episodes faster and more appealing to a broader audience. That meant cutting back on the detailed repair scenes and showing less of the actual work. Edd strongly disagreed with this plan. He believed that if people didn't see how the repairs were done, the show would lose its honesty and become more about entertainment than education. He didn't want to be part of something that didn't respect the process or the audience. So, rather than accept the changes, he chose to leave the show. His announcement, made in a calm and respectful video, quickly went viral. Fans were heartbroken, and many took to social media to express their disappointment. To them, Edd was more than just a TV personality. He was someone they trusted and learned from. Mike Brewer also spoke publicly, saying he was sad about Edd's decision but was committed to continuing the show with a new co-host, Ant Anstead. Still, it was clear that Wheeler Dealers wouldn't be the same without Edd. The chemistry between him and Mike had been built over many years and couldn't easily be replaced. Edd didn't speak negatively about the producers or his co-host. He avoided drama and instead explained his decision clearly. Still, the situation led to some backlash, both for Edd and for Mike. Some fans were angry, and the reaction was intense. In later interviews, Edd said it was a difficult time but that he stood by his decision. He felt it was the only way to stay true to what he believed in. After leaving the show, Edd disappeared from the public eye for almost a year. There were no new shows, no big projects, and no interviews. Fans were left wondering, had Edd given up on TV? Was he done with cars? Had he just burned out? For a long time, there were no answers. During this quiet period, Edd returned to his private workshop. This was the same space where he had previously built fun inventions like a motorized office chair and a street-legal sofa. But now, there were no cameras, no deadlines, and no pressure. People close to him said he used this time to recharge and refocus. He began working on personal projects again, not for an audience, but for himself. Some rumors suggested he was exploring electric vehicle conversions, especially for classic cars. This would fit well with his long-time interest in eco-friendly technology. Still, these were just rumors. Edd didn't share much about what he was building, keeping everything behind closed doors. Despite the silence, fans remained curious. Online forums filled with people asking, "Where's Edd?" Old episodes of Wheeler Dealers got flooded with comments expressing love for Edd and hoping for his return. Many believed he was working on something big, they just didn't know what yet. It turns out, they were right. Edd wasn't finished, not by a long shot. He was just getting ready for a new chapter. Revival feels so genuine, it reflected the real world of car repairs, not a polished, overly produced TV version of it. And most of all, it showed that Edd China hadn't lost his spark. He was still passionate, still inventive, and still deeply connected to the community that had admired him for years. At the heart of it, many fans weren't just looking for great car content. They were hoping Edd was okay, mentally, physically, and creatively. That concern wasn't unfounded. Walking away from a major TV show, especially one that defined your career for over a decade, isn't easy. Edd himself later admitted that the decision was emotional and hard. Even though he appeared calm and composed in his farewell video, stepping away meant giving up a steady income, a global platform, and a project he had poured so much of himself into. It's only natural that he needed time to reflect and heal. Burnout may have played a role too. Years of working under tight production schedules, constant pressure from fans and network executives, and trying to stay true to his craft in an environment that was changing rapidly. All of that can wear down even the most dedicated person. According to some insiders, Edd had quietly expressed frustration before his exit. He still had creative ideas, but the environment wasn't right for them anymore. So he did what many people wish they could do when things no longer align. He stepped away and gave himself the space to breathe. His garage became a kind of sanctuary. He left social media alone, didn't upload to YouTube, and kept out of the public eye. This silence was strange for someone who had always been open and hands-on. Occasionally, fans would spot him at a small engineering event or classic car meet. These rare sightings sparked rumors. Was he doing research? Was he working on something new in secret? No one really knew, and Edd wasn't ready to explain. But the silence wasn't just a pause. It was a period of incubation. He was resetting, regaining energy, and quietly working behind the scenes. Then, almost a year later, in May 2018, he returned, not on TV, but through his own YouTube channel. There was no big marketing campaign or flashy announcement. He simply uploaded the first episode of a new show called Garage Revival. That title said it all. The idea was simple but meaningful. Edd would visit everyday people who had started restoring their own cars but had run into problems they couldn't solve on their own. He'd step in to help them finish what they started. It wasn't just about fixing cars. It was about helping people move forward with something that mattered to them. Each project was a story. Each episode was filled with small lessons, practical tips, and genuine human moments. In the very first episode, Edd helped a man trying to finish restoring a classic VW Golf GTI. The car had been sitting unfinished, and the owner had done as much as he could with limited tools and skills. Edd didn't judge. He simply rolled up his sleeves and got to work. He explained what he was doing, why it needed to be done, and how anyone else might be able to do it too. There were no dramatic voiceovers or overproduced scenes. Just Edd, the car, and the process. That honest and grounded style quickly won people over. The video gained hundreds of thousands of views, and the comment section became a flood of support. Fans were thrilled to see Edd back in action, staying true to his methods and doing things his way. Many even said they liked Garage Revival more than Wheeler Dealers, because it felt more personal and real. For Edd, this return wasn't just about cars. It was about reconnecting with his craft, with his audience, and with his purpose. He was now fully in control. He chose the stories, wrote the scripts, and even helped with editing. It was hard work, but it was his. And the fans appreciated that. They could now talk directly to him through comments, suggest ideas, and be part of the journey. Edd had found a way to do what he loved without compromise. Over time, more episodes followed. From an old Triumph Herald to a neglected Land Rover, each car came with its own story, its own challenges, and its own emotional stakes. These weren't rushed transformations made for flashy reveals. These were careful, thoughtful repairs, filled with the kind of real-life obstacles every home mechanic faces. And that's what made Garage Revival so special. It wasn't just about restoring cars, it was about restoring passion, connection, and integrity. And for Edd China, it marked a new beginning that was entirely on his terms. Edd China's Garage Revival wasn't about showing off perfect cars or creating flashy showpieces. Instead, it focused on something more real and relatable, finishing those car repair projects people often delay for months. Edd wasn't trying to impress. He was trying to help people get things done the right way. This kind of hands-on educational car content had slowly disappeared from mainstream media, but Edd brought it back with a genuine and practical approach. Even though Garage Revival didn't become a huge franchise, that was never the goal. It was a personal project. It gave Edd the chance to reconnect with what he loved doing most, working on cars, without the pressure of big studios or networks. For his longtime fans, it was a sign that he hadn't quit. He had simply taken a different path. By the end of 2018, Edd had shown the world that he didn't need fancy studios or big money to stay relevant. All he needed was a camera, a car to fix, and his own motivation. With Garage Revival, he was back in his workshop, this time with full control over everything. Later on, a private tour of Edd's garage was arranged. What people found inside was surprising and fascinating. Behind plain, unmarked doors, past a messy driveway and shelves filled with old car parts, was the place where Edd had been quietly working for years. Once inside, it was hard to decide where to look first. One of the most eye-catching things was the street-legal sofa. This strange but real vehicle was made from actual armchairs and car parts. Not far from it was a motorized bathroom, a working toilet on wheels that could drive, complete with plumbing and steering. These weren't just made for fun. They were real vehicles registered to be on the road, showing what happens when creativity and engineering mix. However, among the fun inventions, there was one item that was a bit concerning. In the far corner of the garage sat a half-taken-apart project that had clearly gone wrong. It was meant to be a self-steering bar stool, a small personal vehicle balanced with gyroscopes, but the idea had failed. Wires were hanging out, and the control boxes were burned. The plywood under it had black burn marks. One person who saw it said that the lithium battery looked like it had caught fire, and you could still see burned areas on the tools around it. Luckily, no one got hurt, but it showed how dangerous experimental projects can be. For someone like Edd, who is known for careful and precise work, this was a rare look at what can happen when creative ideas push the limits. One industry expert even joked that the thing looked like it tried to cook itself alive. While it might sound scary, it actually makes sense. Edd's garage isn't just a place to build, it's a place to invent and experiment. Some ideas turn into amazing working machines. Others, like the bar stool, fail during testing. But each one, whether a success or a failure, shows how determined Edd is to keep building, learning, and trying new things. Most people don't get to see this side of him, the side that works alone, taking risks and pushing boundaries. If a few things end up with burn marks, that's just part of his process. He's willing to take chances to build things no one else would dare try. After the small but meaningful success of Garage Revival, Edd faced an important choice. He had already proven he didn't need a big company behind him to create good content. His name, experience, and passion were enough. But he wasn't just thinking about getting back on screen. He wanted to change how he contributed to the world of cars completely. The break from regular TV gave Edd time to think about what really mattered to him, not just in his career, but as an engineer and creator. While many people still saw him as the guy from Wheeler Dealers, Edd had already spent years thinking beyond gas-powered cars. He had started working on sustainable transport, electric conversions, and hybrid engines before these ideas became popular. In April 2021, Edd launched a new YouTube series called Edd China's Workshop Diaries. The show had a simple format, but the ideas behind it were big. Unlike Garage Revival, which focused on helping others with their cars, this new series gave viewers a direct look into Edd's own workshop. It was an inside view of his tools, projects, and inventions. It felt like going back to his roots, sharing deep, educational content, but now with a focus on future technology. Each week, Edd released a new episode, usually between 20 to 40 minutes long. He covered everything from taking apart engines to explaining how electric vehicle parts work. What made the show different was its mood. It wasn't fast, flashy, or overly polished. It was calm, honest, and moved at a steady pace. Edd talked to the camera like he was talking to a friend. He carefully explained every step, not just showing what he was doing, but also why he was doing it. One of the early projects was converting a classic Mini into an electric car. Edd wanted to prove that electric vehicles didn't have to lose their charm or personality. You could still keep the soul of an old car while giving it a modern engine. Viewers saw every detail, from how to fit the electric motor to choosing batteries and setting up the controls. Nothing was skipped or made to look easy. It was all about showing real engineering work that could help the environment too. As the series continued, it grew more diverse. Some episodes focused on fixing traditional problems like bad suspension or gearbox issues. Others explored bigger ideas, like creating car parts from recycled materials or testing systems that let older cars recover energy while driving. Sometimes, Edd showed tools he made himself or answered questions from viewers in long, thoughtful sessions. There were no sponsors or advertisers deciding what he could or couldn't show. The content was driven purely by Edd's curiosity and passion. In many ways, Workshop Diaries was Edd's clearest message about what he stood for: making things better, sharing knowledge, and keeping it real. He encouraged people not to see their garage as just a place to park cars, but as a space for learning, creativity, and experimentation. Fans loved the show. Comments from all over the world praised how clearly Edd explained things, how knowledgeable he was, and how peaceful and enjoyable the episodes felt. The show wasn't dramatic, but it was meaningful. It was clear that Edd cared not just about fixing cars, but about the future of transportation. Watching the series, people could feel that Edd had taken time to heal after leaving Wheeler Dealers. There was no anger, just quiet confidence. It felt like Edd had found himself again, and this show was how he wanted to reintroduce himself to the world. By its second year, Workshop Diaries had become more than just a YouTube show. It had turned into a community of engineers, car lovers, and thinkers. Edd sometimes invited friends or old colleagues to join him, but the show always stayed focused. It was about honest work, smart ideas, and engineering that really matters. Edd China's story shows us something important in today's fast-paced media world: the value of staying true to your beliefs. He could have stayed on Wheeler Dealers, taken the money, and changed his style to fit what producers wanted. But he didn't. He left because the way the show was going didn't match his values anymore. Edd believes that how you do something is just as important as what you create. That choice may have been risky, but it earned him deep respect, not just from fans, but from people across the industry. Even now, Edd is still making Workshop Diaries. He keeps exploring new topics, trying out new technologies, and answering questions that most shows ignore. For every young person just starting to work on cars, for every mechanic struggling with a tough repair, and for every engineer dreaming of a cleaner, better future, Edd is there. Calm, thoughtful, and always curious. His online presence is like a large-scale classroom. He's proof that craftsmanship isn't gone and that real engineering is about solving problems with care and purpose.